Welcome back. This is the second chapter of the Korean Manhwa Chasing Tails. We recapped the first chapter last time, but I thought a bit about how I wanted to do the recap portion of this really quickly for anyone who's confused. When I cover stories in parts, I normally recap what has happened so far before I dive into the new stuff, just so if someone is new, they're not completely lost. Or if you're coming back, it's a way to just refresh your memory a bit about what has happened so far. But this time around, because the retellings are so short, and there are one too many characters, I think I'll just play all the previous chapters before doing the new one. I'll include the timestamps for what the recap would be and where the new chapter starts, so you can skip ahead if you don't want to hear everything you've already heard. I hope that's okay, and if it's not, as always, just let me know and I'll think of something else. So with that, here's the story of Chasing Tails so far. Everything starts with a recording. It's completely dark except for the little light that the flashlight of a phone produces. As the camera moves around the room, you see rubble everywhere and hear voices complaining about the heat. And then a face comes into view. He's sweating and it looks a little desperate as he speaks. We're the sophomores and juniors at Sejong University Film Department and we're waiting to be rescued. It seems like there was an incident during our studio tour. 9 of us are trapped down here right now. We talked to 911 just now and are all staying together as advised. Thankfully, no one is injured. Hey, stop that and just start filming. Okay. We're recording a short introduction of ourselves and our blood type just in case. I'm Han Sung-bin and my blood type is B. The camera shifts and a girl comes into view. I'm Chung Hana. My blood type is O. The camera shifts again. I'm Lee Chung Nok. My blood type is a little rare. And Mom, Dad, I love you. Okay, pause. Maybe this is why I shouldn't be writing things on the train, so I mixed this part up. Chongnok is not the one who cries for his mom and dad. He just says that his blood type is a little rare. He's on RHA. And it's Kim Yoon who actually cries for her parents. I just completely forgot her introduction in the script that I had written for this, so instead, I hope you guys enjoy the actual part of the manhwa with her drawing in it. I'm so sorry for messing that up. I'll try to be more careful in the future. As soon as she says that, the chaos breaks out. This isn't what they agreed on. They need to be quick in case the battery runs out. Someone breaks up the fight and a boy comes into view. This is Song Jun-taek, and Jun-taek pauses and drops his head. And your blood type? Jun-taek lifts his head and scratches his hair. I know, it's type O. The camera shifts again. This is Shin Yu-chong, and my blood type is... But he gets interrupted by Song-bin, who realizes that the camera isn't in focus. Great, hope we don't need this for any blood transfusions. Another small fight explodes, the camera comes back into focus, and someone once again breaks up the fight before the camera moves on from Yujung. Oh, Taeyeon here, blood type is B, I'm interning at the studio. The camera moves on. I'm Baek Hae-sung, my blood type is AB. Please save us as soon as possible. And then the next person comes into view. I'm Ko Juno, blood type B. Now let's turn it off, guys. Song-bin turns off the recording. All 9 of them are sitting in a circle with a phone's flashlight in the middle. Each person has something different to add to the conversation. Some regret coming to tour the studio, some are grateful that they're alive and not buried underneath the rubble, and someone just wants them to stop talking because that'll make them all thirsty. Their conversation ends with someone suggesting that they turn off the flashlight to preserve the phone's battery, and soon the whole area grows dark. 16 days later, on the 6 a.m. morning news, a reporter is reporting on suspicious signs on the corpses from the Contra Studio incident. The news is playing on a TV in an apartment where the apartment tenant is listening to it while she's making morning coffee. The news reporter continues. The police stated that they will be investigating the case and the survivors. Although the survivors of the Contra Studio incident were rescued on the 6th after 14 days in isolation, 3 corpses were found damaged and one of the survivors was found unconscious, raising multiple suspicions on the case. Police have obtained permission from the family of the deceased to request an autopsy of the 3 corpses. Additionally, in order to minimize the possible psychological distress of the survivors during the investigation, prosecutors have stated that a professional advisory committee member would join the investigation. And on the TV screen, you see these headlines flashing. Contra incident, signs of murder revealed on site, multiple survivors suffering from trauma. Police request an autopsy from the National Institute of Scientific Investigation. The tenant grabs the keys to the apartment, says bye to her boyfriend, and is putting on her shoes as the news reporter on the TV continues behind her. Prosecutors have revealed that they are appointing a neuropsychiatrist as an advisory member, and people are speculating that the appointed member is Dr. Chu Younghwa. Younghwa smiles as she exits her apartment. Meanwhile, at the police station, everyone is gossiping about how Team 2 will most likely take on the Contra case. It seems pretty obvious to all the other officers that Kwon Jong-do will take over and Team 2 will steal the spotlight yet again this quarter. Meanwhile, in the room assigned to Team 2, one of the team members is crying. At this rate, she'll never get to go home. Jong-do, however, is all about work. He wants to go through the crime scene photos, but his teammates convince him to get some tea in the break room. Taegun, one of the cops on Team 2, is scrolling through social media while waiting for his tea, and the comments are kind of all over the place. There are a couple threads talking about how the 6 of them didn't have enough food to eat or how they had to eat their own poop to survive. Another thread that says, and I quote, "Men and women in their 20s isolated together don't even have to question what must have happened. I wish I was there." Some people, I swear. Thankfully, there's a few folks calling this person disgusting and another person pointing out that there were 3 corpses in there, which, I don't know, I guess if you're like into necrophilia, that might not be as big of a turnoff as some people think it is. But the most interesting thread is about Younghwa. The commenter doesn't understand why everybody's making such a big deal about psychiatrist Chu Younghwa. The replies to the comments talk about the Songni case. That case shook the entire country, and it's how Younghwa got famous. Taegun puts his phone down and starts asking about Younghwa. That Dr. Ju, apparently she's 43. Is that true? I saw a picture of her and I honestly thought that she was my age. Well, what were you gonna do if she was your age? No, I mean that she's pretty gorgeous, so I was just surprised. She's in her early 40s because she was in college during that incident. Dr. Ju, I still remember seeing her on the TV as a kid. There were no privacy laws back then, so all the faces and names and pictures of the survivors were broadcasted to the public, which not only made her a well-known face during the investigation of that incident, but also after that. Daegun starts sweating while he tries to explain himself. Lieutenant, I think I misspoke, but Chongdo is serious. If it becomes clear that there was a murder, then this is a locked room murder case, so hold yourself back even if the doctor is gorgeous. Lieutenant, I mean, Dr. Ju isn't just a doctor. She's a survivor from the incident, so watch what you say in front of her. Don't make any mistakes that could get us in trouble with the prosecutors. Daegun apologizes, but he's cut off from saying anything more than "I'm sorry" by a voice behind them. What mistake? Saying that I look your age, or being pretty gorgeous? Or perhaps it's the fact that you're a little bothered that I'm a committee member appointed by the prosecutors. I don't really care, to be honest, but I'd be happy if my coworkers were comfortable working with me. Oh, also, I'm 43. Does that answer your question? She then walks up to Jongdo, who is frozen, and extends her hand. Lieutenant Kwon Jongdo, I'm Chu Younghwa, Director of Neuropsychiatry at the National Chungwoo Health Research Center. I was wondering what you thought about the order of the survivor statements. And with that interruption, the team gets to work. They stick up all the photos they've gotten from the crime scene, and because I can, I'm going to describe some of them to you. Quite a few of them are blood splatters on the rubble in the area where the 9 of them were located. There are 2 photos of articles of clothing. One of them is like a really colorful, I want to say scarf, and then the other photo is one of a bloody pink shirt. In addition to that, there's another picture of a moldy bread and a photo of a woman's shoe that also has some blood on it. Younghwa is studying the photos while Chongdo is studying her, thinking back to the comment she made earlier, calling him out on the fact that he's bothered by the fact that she was appointed by the prosecutors. After a few moments, Chongdo answers Younghwa's questions about the order of the survivor statements. The order of the statements doesn't really matter. The survivors cannot communicate with each other in order to get their story straight, and there wouldn't be any difference even if they agreed on a story before the rescue. So I'm planning on getting statements from whoever recovers first. Younghwa turns to him. Then it must be easy to get the first statement from the survivor who's suffering the most, right? Among the survivors who can talk now, we need the one who's struggling the most in this situation, mentally taking it the hardest and the most sensitive. It'd be even better if that survivor is severely injured. And as she's saying this, she has like this small smile on her face, and the look in her eyes for some reason is very unsettling. Before Younghwa can continue, she gets interrupted by the female detective on the team. Sorry to cut you off, but was that a professional comment as a neuropsychiatrist? No, not really, but it is in fact the easiest to get the most honest response from the severely injured and unstable survivor. We're getting statements from everyone anyways, right? We all know that they probably had some internal conflicts and ended up killing one another. You better get the alibis as soon as possible. Remember that investigation team that missed the opportunity and messed everything up? Getting all 9 of their alibis will be the foundation of the investigations, Lieutenant. Get the statement from the one who's suffering the most. Meanwhile, in the hospital, on the other side of a door that says isolation, keep quiet, patient Shin Yoo-jung. Yoo-jung is underneath his hospital bed, shaking in fear. Every little noise coming from the hallway causes him to whimper. His eyes dart around, and then they dart to a pair of bare legs that appear next to his bed before an upside-down face comes into view, and Yoo-jung screams, Don't kill me! I won't tell anyone!" The next chapter starts by sending us back to July 24th. Chongnok is filming himself just outside the Contra studio. It's 1 a.m. in the morning, and he is convinced that the Songcheon University's film club's fate depends on this studio tour, and because of that, he will be recording the entire tour of the Contra studio. The Contra studio is a brand new building that's still leasing out most of its units, and the second floor basement of this building is home to the editorial room. Chongnok hurries down the dark basement because he's already late, but his mouth doesn't stop moving. It's really dark right now because it's 1 a.m. Apparently they're pulling an all-nighter for the edits. There's no security either. Maybe they're asleep. Anyway, I'm going to hurry because I'm a bit late. Oh, look at that. I found Taeyeon. Taeyeon is banging her fingers against her phone, clearly frustrated because her phone isn't working again. And when she hears Chongnok behind her, she starts filming his face while yelling at him for being late. The two have a cute argument, and it seems like the two of them are pretty close. Eventually, Taeyeon stops filming Chongnok and starts laying down some ground rules. Just leave your phone and your backpack over there and come inside. We can't have any outside devices in here, and recording is prohibited. Chongnok completely disregards Taeyeon and just shoves his phone into his backpack and brings the whole thing inside. Back in present day, the police have gotten their hands on the floor plan of the area that the group was stuck in. So there's group A, which is shaped almost like a square, except a little bit of the top section has like a triangle cut out of it. This is where the survivors were stationed for the most part. The rescue team's passageway was made to the right of area A, and the top right corner of area A has a little passage that leads into area B. Area B is a small trapezoidal shaped space that was split into 3 main sections. The smallest section was the water area, which is located to the very left of the trapezoid. The students had found water dripping from the ceiling in this area, so they gathered a tumbler and started collecting it. Forensics say that this is probably the only reason they managed to survive for as long as they did. Then next to the water area, a bit further away, is a larger bathroom area, and on top of the bathroom area, as far away from the survivors as possible, is where the 3 corpses were found. Younghwa taps her fingers on the floor plan. Well, unless the dead ones all decided to die in the exact same spot, it seems like the bodies were moved to the corner after death. Is that correct? Youngchae, the female detective, responds, "Yes, it's been confirmed at the crime scene that it seems like they were moved. We'll be more certain once the forensics reports come out." While Youngchae is speaking, Chongdo's phone, however, beeps. It's a text from his team leader, and he's found the weak link that Younghwa asked for. The person suffering the most from this incident is Shin Yoo-jung. He's a small guy who seems to have anxiety issues, but when the police go to see him, he refused to see them. And because he refused personally to see them, Chongdo and his team can't see him anymore without a warrant. They don't have the full autopsy report, so they can't even force an interview. So they give up on Yoo-jung and instead direct their attention to Chongnok. He's on the same floor as Yoo-jung, but there was something peculiar about him. When they had rescued everyone, he told the cops to find the one who didn't finish the bread. Chongnok is sitting in a VIP room all bruised and battered with broken arms. His mom is standing guard outside of his room, going off on the police who, according to her, have just stormed in abruptly and are interrogating her son. Youngchae is trying her best to reassure the mother that they're only here for a testimony, but the mom won't let them anywhere near her son until a lawyer is present. While Youngchae is dealing with the mom, Younghwa's gaze is captured by something else. She taps Jongdo's shoulder and points it out to him and then whispers into his ear, He's interested in the conversation. Lure him out. He's not some wild animal. But nonetheless, he interrupts Young-chae. We're not trying to harm your son, ma'am. We heard that he gave an early testimony when he was being rescued. We're just here to confirm that. One of the pieces of evidence we collected from the scene included a food item, and Chung-nok said that we have to find the one who didn't finish the bread. So we're here to confirm that statement. Survivor statements are required from everyone anyway, so it may be better to just get it over with as soon as possible. But since you're so against it, if you want to talk to an attorney, please do. But as all this is going on outside, on the other side of the door, Chung-nok has his back glued to the door listening to the conversation. That is what Young-hwa saw earlier. She saw his sleeve poking out from the window. As Chung-do indicates that they're going to leave, Chung-nok leaps into action. He slides the door open and without thinking he starts talking. Is that bastard up yet? He should have died there, that son of a bitch. His mom yells at him to mind his tongue, but Chung-do stops her. The bastard in question is Song Jun-taek, the survivor who's in a coma at the moment. With that cat out of the bag, the police sit down with Chung-nok and start collecting his statement. This is an informal statement of a witness. Please acknowledge that everything is recorded from now on. Don't worry about the order and just say what you want to say. We might ask you some questions during the statement. Chung-nok, however, is distracted by the floor plan that they've given him. Is this really the place that we were trapped in? Is this the correct version? Yes, it's the exact floor plan. That's so weird. It was this big? Anyway, normally we're not allowed to bring any personal items into the editorial room, but I bought my phone and my backpack in. I bought some pastries and bread in case we'd get hungry late at night, which ultimately saved us. To avoid any kinds of disputes about the different kinds of bread, I just bought 2 kinds. We divided that among people, but I saw it when I was being rescued. He saw a piece of the bread he'd shared just laying there on the ground half eaten, and his immediate thought was, what kind of moron would throw their food away? They were trapped down there for 2 weeks, and in a situation like that, food is a precious commodity. And it's not like he could assume that person was saving it because it was the middle of the summer, and it's common knowledge that pastry bread lasts like 2 days before going bad in the summer. It was just so strange to Chung-nok that someone would starve themselves on purpose. But while Chung-nok is going on about how strange the leftover bread is, Young-hwa is psychoanalyzing the man. He's stuck in his own head, thinking that the one who didn't finish the bread is suspicious. It's typical behavior of a victim after a traumatic incident. Meanwhile, Young-chae switches the conversation in a different direction. Chung-nok, may I hear anything you remember about the deceased ones? It can be anything at all. Chung-nok's eyes go wide, and to me, he looks a little traumatized as he remembers what happened to Yoon. So when they were trapped, Yoon wanted to stick to Chung-nok's side. She refused to go anywhere unless she's going with him. The main thing that would cause any of them to move is to get water. Remember that they set up camp in Area A, but water is being sourced from Area B. So whenever Yoon needs water, she wants Chung-nok to go with her. And while Yoon is telling him this, he can't help but think, that's not a good idea. There's no guarantee that we'd both be thirsty at the same time, and this is the reason they didn't set a specific water partner. It's too inefficient. But at the same time, Yoon doesn't have anyone that she's close to. At the end of the day, that last thought wins out. He wraps his arms around Yoon and pulls her into a playful back hug. Of course, who else would I go with? Don't abandon me later on to go get water with someone else. He pulls Yoon a little closer. Even if the rescue team is a little late, they'll still come earlier than you think. We even have water now, so we can go on forever. Jeez, Chung-nok, you're not even a little bit scared? I'm scared to death, Yoon, but if I talk about it, I'd only feel worse, so... But he never gets to finish that thought, because from the other side of the circle, Chun-taek yells at them to shut up. Your whispers are annoying as hell, so just shut up. Don't you know that the lovey-dovey couples always die first in these kinds of situations? And true to his words, sometime later they found Yoon collapsed face first onto the ground. Screams erupted throughout the area. Every little sound sent people into screaming fits. But when everything quieted down, the unmistakable sound of someone chewing echoed through the space. While everyone was gathered around Yoon's body, Chun-taek was crouching in a corner, eating Yoon's bread. I'm really sorry about Yoon, but she can't eat anymore, so This is the right thing to do. And every time Chongnok remembers Chuntaek's face as he said that, he has the overwhelming urge to kill him, because then at least 2 more people would have survived. He grabs his head as he starts rambling. I was running out of coffee that I bought in my tumbler, so I thought it was over for all of us, but we found dripping water from the ceiling, so I suggested that we go as partners, like 2 people at a time. But then, fuck, my girlfriend went to get water while I was asleep and she came back dead, and Juntaek was holding the bread she didn't finish. By this point, Chongnok is screaming his head off and banging his broken arm on the bed. The officers and his mom try to calm him down, but he's too far gone. You said this is a murder case. That means he wanted to take it from her, even if he had to kill her to do it, and he was holding it. Yun was dead and he was holding that bread. Can't you see he killed a person for some food? There's a witness too, the witness. But he's forced to stop screaming and banging by Chongdo, who twists his arm and pins it to his back. Chongnok, please calm down. Take a deep breath. Chuntaek, he went to go get water with Yoon. He went with Yoon. All the dead ones, they all died from going to get some water. We didn't even know how they died. Didn't even think about the possibility of murder. But if it is murder, it's definitely Chuntaek. I told you there's a witness and Yoon died, so it has to be Chuntaek. Meanwhile, at the National Forensic Services autopsy room, the doctors who are looking at Yoon's body are frozen in shock. Yoon's hand is missing 3 fingers and the nail of her ring finger is dangling off. And the worst part is that the missing fingers look like they were bitten off. And that is the end of chapter 2. So to give you guys a clearer picture right now of what we have, Kim Yoon, who was the first person to die, looks like she was mauled and eaten. Juntaek is alive but in a coma. Yoo-jung is alive but scared out of his mind because of what happened during those 2 weeks. And Chongnok is alive and semi-functional, but he's definitely traumatized by seeing his girlfriend die. I don't know about you guys, but I love how the story is shaping up so far. They all seem a little unhinged, and I can't wait to see the mystery unravel little by little. That is all for today, and I will see you all next time.